Well, we've got to streamline it. I have personally experienced some of the issues that exist at City Hall in regards to development and doing business with City Hall. The process has to be streamlined. So we need a dedicated team that is working through the process with the developer. Somebody, economic development director likely, is with that developer through the entirety of the project. And they are focusing on making sure everything is happening in a timely manner and to the specifications that we need it to.
Yeah, so let's talk about the residential side of things. One of the planks of my platform is also, how do you do affordable housing? Affordable housing is one of those things that a lot of people talk about, but what I've been focused on is I brought a bipartisan group of people together. We have people who have been general contractors for large projects in Texas and in Kansas, people who have land in Lawrence, and we're focused on this idea of modular homes. So when you look at people in town right now, 60% of people are renters. Before the pandemic, the city asked them, what could you afford for a new house? And those numbers were $125,000 to $265,000. Average price, selling price is $315,000. Average one on the market is $370,000. So there's a ton of people who are not able to actually buy a home. I'm focused on this idea of modular homes. These are homes that are built in a factory that are then brought on site. Those are 30 to 40% cheaper than on-site built homes. And with tariffs going in place for wood and steel and copper, the price of an on-site built home is only going to get higher in the future. So we need a new type of option.
Well, that's a great question. That's been ongoing, and I think we have turned a corner in that. We've had to realize both inside and out that we need to be more of a culture of yes and as opposed to no, and throwing up barriers to folks wanting to go ahead and develop, whether it be housing or economic development. Because if we can find those ways to go ahead and make those opportunities happen, I think it's better for all of us. Now, it's a little bit of a culture shift than we had before, but I think we're well on our way to doing it. Just hearing that from inside and out. So I think we just need to go ahead and continue on that path. We've instituted some things to go ahead and make that possible, but we can always work a little bit more on it.
I have, not currently, but I have had in the past a contractor's license in Lawrence. And it is unbelievable how long it takes to get a building permit. It shouldn't take 4 weeks or 5 weeks or 6 weeks to get a building permit. If you come in with your plans that are stamped and sealed with an architect's signature, they know all the rules and regulations, and if you have trustworthy architects, which I think everyone here in town is, then they should be allowed to be, it should be approved quickly. Time's money, and it's a detriment to our development too. If it takes forever to get a set of plans approved, then you're behind the 8 ball right away. You're starting out losing. But more importantly, you may disinterest people from coming here and developing something.
I think people's hearts were in the right place for Project 2040. They wanted to be able to use the space that's in the land right now to have additional dwelling units in people's backyards. Last year, Wichita came out with a study that said Lawrence should have 170,000 people in town by 2050. We're not going to do that just by additional dwelling units either. So I would work to modify Project 2040. I think we need to look west, but we also need to look east. When you look at where jobs are actually in this community right now, people go to Johnson County rather than going to Topeka. So I'm pro-development in both ways, and I don't believe that just putting ADUs in people's backyards is enough.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm of the mentality, if you don't grow, you stagnate, and even worse. So I would hope so, because any sort of development, granted, I want us to have intelligent development, because I realize Lawrence is a unique place, and I want us to make sure that we still inhabit that culture of Lawrence. But I think that we need to be a little bit more open towards development, because development can go ahead and help us, because a lot of the things that we love about Lawrence, our arts and culture and our parks and things of that sort, are spurred by commercial development that infuses that cash so we can go ahead and have all those cool things. So the more commercial development and, the more opportunities we have for, folks to go ahead and start their own business, maintain their own business, or grow their own business, the better we are for it, because those are also the folks that contribute to things like Little League teams, churches, and other civic-minded events and organizations here in town that keep them afloat. Like we've heard stories about the Boys and Girls Club, about Ballard Center, and about all those other institutions that are struggling right now. The people that are supporting those are small businesses and local folks that are trying to keep those alive because they realize how important they are to our community. So anything we can do to support them and help grow the culture of that, I'm all for it.
I'm not that familiar with the Land Use Plan 2040. It's one of the things I have to read up on and understand better. But there are always ways to improve upon what you have. The home building in the city is just taken a nosedive. I remember in the past years where we built 250 homes a year, and now I think we're on the cusp of building only about 60 homes this year, and that makes prices go up. Lack of supply is going to demand, and demand is out there. The price is going to increase. We've got to get our prices under control so that people can afford homes at all levels: the starter homes, the medium homes, and the luxury homes. If somebody buys a next level home, then that opens the home up that was right below them, so it allows for upward mobility. But right now we're pretty frozen, and the lower echelon group is being forced to pay pretty high prices.
In regards to our Project 2040, it focuses predominantly on infill. And the reality is this city needs to grow if we are going to provide any kind of property tax relief. And it really needs to happen immediately. And I think infill, though important, it will not get us to where we need to go in order to get that relief. So I think we need to annex, truthfully. I think we need to annex more property. I agree with infill, but I don't think that's the only way to go as far as new development is concerned. And specifically, when we talk about the built environment of each of these neighborhoods, we have to respect that built environment. And when you go in and you're going into an existing neighborhood, you really need to be cognizant of their feelings and what is going into that built environment, which requires more time. And as I said, we're a little pressed for time.
Well, the benefits of tax incentives is they get you, or they enable a company to go ahead and invest in the location and invest in the project where there obviously, or there previously wasn't one. So usually when those tax incentives come, they're coming to a place that's been destitute or barren, and it's just recovering those just bare level property taxes, which you will get regardless. But tax incentives encourage people to go ahead and build upon that and raise the value of that. And in raising the value of that, you accumulate more taxes. Now, granted, with the incentive part of it, they get to keep some. But those parts that they don't keep are in addition to the ones that are on the base level that go to the city and, the greater people of Lawrence. They go to, the general fund to go ahead and help fund projects and things that people love to do. Now, once they roll off those tax incentives, the full burden of that company or what they contribute goes into the city's coffers. Whereas before they got there, the years before they got there, was just nothing except that base level. That's what tax incentives can do. They can add demonstrably to the value of your city and diversify your tax base and help those citizens and those residents do things that they want to do with the money that they bring. In addition to that, as a side benefit, they bring jobs. So, which we're always looking for if we're looking to retain folks from our universities or educational institutions. So, I think that there's a reason why that they come into play and what good they can do for the community.
Tax incentives is a question that's been asked every year since I was born, I think. There's a lot of controversy around it. On the one hand, do we not tax somebody at the full price that they would have to pay, or do we give them a subsidy in order to get started? Now, I'm in favor of providing subsidies in the way of tax abatements or IRBs or whatever, if they are going to make a substantial investment in the community, if they're going to hire people, first, next of all, the number of jobs that they would commit to. In other words, is it 1 or 2, or is it 25 or 50? And then the rate of pay with which they're going to employ these people is at least market or better. And then I think that you have to, if you're going to be competitive, other cities are doing this, and if we don't do it, then we're going to fall behind. We're just not going to get all the development that we could. And the major development is a huge tax generator for us, both in sales tax revenues from employees, and then eventually we'll get property tax after the abatement period's over.
Competitiveness, truthfully. There are a lot of folks that in town that are very frustrated with the incentives. And to some extent, rightfully so, they don't see the value, because we have had some issues in the past with developments. We've got to communicate with the residents and really educate them and show them what these incentives can do and how they can benefit the community. These incentives, they help us be competitive, because just about every other city is providing incentives. If you're not, guess what? They're not going to come. But we have got to also ensure that the city and its residents are receiving an equal benefit. It's not just, hey, we're going to throw money at any business that wants to come in. We can set it for 10 years. We can require a certain amount of jobs come through every year. And that 10-year tax abatement is not a guarantee. Every year they come back and they prove that they have been adhering to what the agreement was. And it's just really a partnership, and the city has to do a really, really good job at holding the recipients accountable.
I do think we need to have a discussion about tax abatements and the fairness around them. Tax abatements and incentives should be fair for the business. They should have time limits on them. We should be able to review them every couple of years to make sure that they're effective, and that they should be limited. Right now, I think we are using them to try and bring in businesses, especially ones that are businesses that we don't necessarily have in the city. The problem is, it just doesn't feel like there's any rules to those roads right now. If in the long term we're going to get from 70-30 to more like 60-40, those abatements and those incentives have to be part of that, so that we know if we give an incentive, what is the time that it takes, and then over time, how does that factor into the 60-40 ratio? Because if we get to 60-40, that too would be a great property tax relief to everybody in town.
As far as I can see, we're pretty much involved in the support of small business and business development. We could always do more, but I would look or just want to discuss the options that we might have of setting up some kind of grant system to include more people that have the ability to put together a project and work through it and try to become a viable business.
Well, you give them access to the city, where they have individuals that they can work with on any type of licensing, permitting, etc. I think we've got to work closely with the chamber, and there needs to be a group of people, much like the developers, that are there, both city and chamber, that can help our businesses and our entrepreneurs. And it's got to be a group effort. It really does. We have an excellent Chamber of Commerce. They've done a lot of amazing work in the community. I think they will probably need to spearhead the entrepreneurship, the folks that are business oriented, but the chamber has to have a direct line of communication with an individual that's dedicated to helping these entrepreneurs get established.
To help small business, one of the things I think we can really do is market Lawrence differently. And by that I mean, oftentimes people say, hey, this is a college town, it's unmistakable. One of the things I think we need to do for small businesses is say, hey, what does the industrial base look like over time? Are we growing that? Like, what differentiates us from other college towns in the Midwest? And then on top of that, I believe the city just does not do a good job of marketing. As part of a meeting, one of the things I would love to do at the end is not only ask every one of the directors, like, who's somebody out in the field who's crushing it, but also ask from a business perspective, like, who's a business in town that either just got started or is doing a great job, something that we can highlight so that other people in the community can learn about those businesses.
Well, it's that is awesome, because I love that question, because that's my bailiwick is entrepreneurs and small business. I think we've turned a corner as well on that. Just in the support of you guys, the Chamber, CORE, KUIP, KU Small Business Development, Peasley Tech, and EDC. Those are all hubs of kind of small business development and resource gathering that can help people go ahead and start those businesses. Because what I want is for us to create this economic ecosystem where people can come in and get the help that they need to go ahead and start their small business, because towns are built on small businesses, as I've said before. And the more small businesses we can have, the more people have ownership, the more people they can hire, the more that we can keep a lot of our economic vitality here in town. So any way we can do that. Now, I'm not even limiting the range of those businesses. They can be traditional businesses out of your homes, trade school oriented businesses, childcare, which Peasley is doing a great job with their instructive courses for helping people getting their certifications in that. Any of those businesses which contribute to our town, I want to go ahead and help foster, because I've been in many places, and the most successful cities I've seen have a robust small business and economic center, and they're driving their communities to where they want to go. So I want to go ahead and continue that and continue to foster that, because I think that's the right way to go.